Okay, so I've got a tutorial, and originally this was something that was made for students by this woman named Alice Keeler. A lot of people follow her, so she's a techie person if you want another person to follow for good stuff. And so she had this spreadsheet set up to teach students how to use spreadsheets. Well, I made a modified version for teachers to teach teachers how to use spreadsheets. So when you click on this link, it is going to prompt you to make a copy. This is something new I learned in the last 24 hours, how to make it look like this. If you're curious, you get the link for sharing, and it says edit right here, and you replace that with copy, and it forces them to make a copy before they can even see it. So that could prevent people from requesting access to something, and you don't have to tell them make a copy because it's their only choice, their only option. So, and then what you'll see is this spreadsheet. And so I thought we could just walk through the steps in this spreadsheet, one through the tutorial, and you can always access a copy for yourself in those slides. It starts off pretty simple, just saying, hey, this is a spreadsheet. Maybe you're familiar with Excel. What's it called? Excel sheets? Oh, it's called Excel, Microsoft Excel, Office Excel. So Google Sheets is the equivalent. So I think I saw someone say they never learned Excel. Oh, now there's Sheets, there's something new. Personally, if you never learned Excel, don't worry about it. Just jump into the Sheets world because it'll have all the sharing abilities as a Google Drive. Now, if you really need some robust analysis that you can do in Excel, then have fun in that world. But like most of us do not need that kind of, I don't need that kind of thing in my life either. And you know I love playing with these spreadsheets. So we'll write our name in this first box, and we are Fridays at 4. Whoop, whoop. Okay, and it then says, notice that there are tabs at the bottom. So the first tab says welcome. You can actually change the name of a tab. If you double click on it, you can change the name. I'm not going to, because that's going to mess up stuff later. But it looks like we're ready to start with step 1. I'm not going to read this word for word. I'll just give you a summary of what it says. It put our name in there. Hello, Fridays at 4. Welcome to spreadsheets. They are cool. Things that you can do. You can type in cells. You can put numbers in cells. You can put decimals in cells. You can also change the length of a cell. So I've got my mouse arrow, and when I hover over the line between 2 columns, I get a double-sided arrow. And if I click and drag, I can then change the length of that cell. I can also do the same thing with width. So over here, where it says hello, I can click between 12 and 13 and drag and make that larger. And when you've clicked on, typed in 5 cells, you can go to the next page. Okay. So this one says, did you know that cells are named? So this cell that my mouse is in and has highlighted blue is named C6. Directions are, put the name of the cell in the box. So this one would be B12. Hey, we did it right. It even tells us what up. Okay, so that's kind of cool. How did it do that? With some crazy fancy conditional formatting stuff that is not beginner level Excel. Is there any way to make all the cells the same depth? They are not 3-dimensional, so there is no depth. There's only length and width, right? Height And well, I don't know. So I'm not entirely sure what that comment means, but you can click and highlight multiple and then drag around, and I think, yeah, that did what I thought it would do. So all of the cells are now highlighted. How did I do that? I clicked on this box in the very corner. And when I clicked on that box, now I can do that same technique of clicking on the line between 6 and 7, drag down a little bit, and well, bam, they're all the same size. So I think that answered the question. What is this one? Oh, B12. What is this one? A21. Feel free, if you get really excited, just shout out class participation. This one is E13. And at this point, you may be wondering, what happens if we type it in wrong? So this is not H2. And it says try again. So how does that happen? Well, there's a really fancy formula in this cell. If you notice at the top of the screen, it says fx for our function equals blah, 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 blah. And what that says is, if there's nothing in the box, if there's nothing in the yellow box, don't write anything in the white box next to it. It says, if what's written in that box is H18, then write excellent. And if it's anything other than H18, write try again. So maybe that's like lesson number 3 or 4 or something down the line. Okay, our directions say you can hide rows or columns. So click on the 1 and click and keep your finger on it and then drag down. No, I did that wrong. Click and drag. Now I'm not touching the mouse and those are still selected. I can right click anywhere in that selected area and I get a menu with a lot of options. One of those options is hide. So I can hit hide rows and hide rows. If you know how to do this, you can also unhide them. I will go ahead and admit that I have received spreadsheets that have been sent to the entire building with hidden rows, and the first thing I do is go and unhide those rows because I want to see what people don't want me to see. So that's something you can do. You can unhide rows if you want to. Let's see. We're ready for step 3. Okay, what are we going to learn now? Fridays at 4, you're doing great. Yay. So every cell is a calculator. I'm so dorky that sometimes I will even open up Excel for a calculator instead of finding a calculator around me. And so what they're saying is, okay, 3 plus 4 plus 5. If this is a calculator, why isn't it telling me the answer? Because you have to have equals in first. So the directions here are go ahead and put an equals in there, and then if you hit enter, it will calculate it for you. Okay. And it knows order of operations, and you have to follow all those rules and whatnot, and then enter again. So that's cool. Maybe you are working with statistics and your teacher says you have to do all this stuff by hand, which is not fun. So you cheat and you make a spreadsheet that does all the calculations for you. That's what I did in my summer class last summer. So you can cheat that way. Now we're ready to write our own formula. Let's see, equals 4 times 5 plus 9, enter. Okay. I always like to go with 2 plus 2 because that's the easy equation we can all think of off the top of our heads. So you can type in your own equations. You can also figure out what equations were already built in. So if you go up to the top to view, show formulas. It's like show me all the cheats. I'll click it. and it tells me the original formula that I wrote in there, equals 2 plus 2. And so equals welcome, exclamation point, C7, ampersand. What? That is the equation to put our name in there. Okay, fine. It just tells the cheats. And then there's the cheat for the excellent thing. But you know what? That's a little too much. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that off and go back to normal. Questions so far? Okay. Am I recording? I can't remember. Yeah, I am. Okay, good.
You're recording.
All right, good to know. Step 4. Some other things you can do is reference other cells. So in this yellow box, B4, C4, and D4. So instead of typing equals 2 plus 2, you can type in equals that cell. And it knows how to read that and type in the information. All right. And something cool is that it'll change live. So if you change this 6 to a 4, and the minute I hit enter, all of these numbers in the yellow boxes are going to change. Ta-da! Okay, so that's kind of cool if you needed to change something, maybe. Here's something that I actually do use. I use spreadsheets to figure out grades, and I usually put in some, 15 divided by 20, and I get a decimal. But if I wanted that in percentage, I could multiply times 100, or I can just hit this percentage button here. And when I hit that, it can instantly turn into a percentage, which is kind of cool. So that I didn't have to play with formulas. Or if I'm doing a budget, I can click the dollar sign and it automatically changes the format to be money. And I do use a spreadsheet for a budget. I'm not a great budgeter. I don't do it regularly like I should, but I sure like the way it looks in Excel or Google Sheets. So those are 2 things that could be helpful. Merging cells can sometimes be helpful. And so this set of directions just says, hey, merge these cells. And so the way that you do that is you click inside of a cell and drag while you're still clicking to highlight those cells of interest. Hands off the mouse, and those are still selected. And then the button that I'm looking for has a shortcut up here. And that means merge. So when I click that, it's all going to become one box. Okay. Well, how do you unmerge something? I can click over here. I can click back in that one big box and click it again. So that's an option. Okay. That's it for number 5. Number 6. Fridays at 4. Make a T-chart. Okay, so we've got that example on the right-hand side that's got some nice lines in there to help clean everything up, and you can do that too. This does require a tiny bit of brain power though. So let's say I highlight these 2 headings. This box next to merge is for borders. And when I click on that, I have some options. And this is where the thinking comes into play. I want the line underneath what I have highlighted for a horizontal line. And so this is the correct option for line underneath. Okay. Now, let's say I want a line in between those 2 columns. I could highlight this, click that border box, and now I want it on the left-hand side, so it would be this one. Another way you could do it is you could highlight all of them. Again, hands off, so it's selected. click that merge button, and now I have to think again and say, okay, I just want it down the center. And so it's not hard thought, but many times I have clicked the wrong one and the line doesn't go where I want it to go. So you do have to pay attention a little bit. All right, that's it for step 6. Any questions? Okay. Number 7. Wrapping. All right, W-R-A-P, wrap. So this cell has the text wrapped. I can see that because instead of just going out on a line forever, it goes down. And so your directions here say, hey, click on this cell and wrap it. So the cell is highlighted. Back up to the top, we found our merge button. We're going to keep going over to the right. And here's text wrapping. Drop-down menu is that little triangle next to it. We have some options. And you can do the second one to wrap. Honestly, I've never done the third one, so whatever. Second one wraps. Now the text continues down instead of going off to the right. Okay, so that can be helpful when you're making a note and it's going on forever. How do you remove that? Of course, always the undo. Or you can click on that cell again and stop the wrapping. Now it's truncated and I can't see the rest of the sentence. So depending on how the cell is set up, it's either gonna truncate or just continue over. And sometimes that means it could run into other stuff, which is not necessarily good. All right, number 8. All right, 2 ways to figure out averages. So Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, Mike, Ralph, and Johnny. Do you know who they are? Does anybody know, just for the record? It's a musical group. They're not new, they're old. It's New Edition, so that is Bobby Brown, FYI. Okay, so, and these are their actual ages as of yesterday. So you can clearly count this and know that there are only 6 members in the group, or you can have Excel do it for you. I clicked on Ronnie and highlighted down to Johnny. And in the bottom right-hand corner, it says count 6. So that's nice. The way I use this is if I'm sorting grades and all these kids have A's, instead of counting a million times who has an A, I just highlight and it does the count for me. And it knew that the appropriate answer would be count. So if I click on 52 and highlight down to 53, it didn't tell me count now. Now it says sum is 310. It's smart enough to know that it was a number, and then maybe telling me how many numbers I have is not what I'm most interested in. But they'll still let me see other things. The default told me the sum. I can click that drop down arrow and see some other information. Maybe you want to know what the average age is of the folks in the group. That might be more helpful than knowing their sum. I would use average and count. Those are the ones that I use the most. So that's a quick way to do those. Or you can type in equations for that. Equals C, and I have all of these options. O-U-N-T. Oh, sure enough. And I click on that. It says, okay, but count of what? Count from Ronnie to Johnny and enter. Oh, what happened? That shouldn't say 6. Well, I don't know why it doesn't. I'll try it again. Count. If the number, what does the equation say? The number of numerical values. Oh, it's because Ronnie, Bobby are not numerical things. So if I do it and highlight their ages, hopefully it says 6 now. Yeah. Okay, there you go. It only does what you tell it to do, and it did exactly what I told it to do. I can tell it to calculate the average too, and so AVG. There's a few options for average because it does a lot of math things, and oh, that must have not been the right average. Enter? Nope. Well, someone else might panic that things are not going correct in their demonstration, but we know it's reality. Okay, let me spell out average. Ugh. Highlight those and hit enter. Okay, not a fool. Got it. There are a ton of equations that you can use if you really wanted to. Count and average seemed like a good place to start and leave the rest alone. Period. Questions? Okay. This is super nerdy. Sometimes I'll make a word bank and I will type the words in Excel and then I will sort them alphabetically so the students have the words for their word bank in alphabetical order to prevent any type of giveaways. If I'm looking through the chapter and I'm typing them as they come up, you may see some links there. So yeah, I do this. It makes me laugh because it's so dorky.
It's not dorky. Do it every time.
Who's that?
It's Hutch.
Yeah. Oh, well, come on. You're a science teacher nerd too, like me. We kind of think alike. All right. But I appreciate your solidarity, friend. Mm-hmm. So first thing I'm going to do is freeze this first row. You may be familiar with frozen rows and columns from our Academy draft sheet. The reason why names don't disappear and dates don't disappear is because they're frozen. It's so much easier than I thought it would be. All you have to do is go to View, Freeze. What do you want to freeze? I want to freeze the first row. Just one? Yeah, just one. And so I'll hit one row. It's frozen. How do I know? I see this thick line here, so it looks different. And if I scroll, word bank stays there. Okay, cool. The other thing I can do is sort these alphabetically. Many ways to do something. An easy way, hover over the column of interest. And when you hover over it, you get the little triangle. From that triangle, you can click sort A to Z. And it does it. Now, if you are thinking, how am I ever going to remember this stuff? It's all written in the sheet. It says all this stuff word for word, what to click on. Okay. And then what I do from here is I highlight this, I right click, copy, and I go paste it in a Word document somewhere else to print these out. And then I give them to Para and say, thank you. So those are some like instructional helpful tips. There's a million other things that Sheets can do. Where it says practice 1 through 5, those are applications of things that a teacher would actually be using Excel for. We can keep going through those. We can pause for questions. All right, then I'm just going to keep going. So it says, what percentage do students get on their test if their test were 38 points? So I will do this because I want to know how many A's, B's, C's, D's, and F's are on the test. I will run a report from PowerTeacher, and I want to know about with this test. And so I'll type in an equation, and my equation is equals whatever they got on this cell divided by the 38 points possible. I'll hit enter, and I already formatted it as a percentage, so hot diggity. There's their percentage. You can right-click on a cell, copy, click the cell below, and highlight all these bad boys, right click, and paste. And it kept the equation. So now I know. I would further sort this A to Z. And so A to Z is also going to sort it 0 to infinity. And then that will group my A's together, my B's together, my C's together. Let me go ahead and show you. Sort A to Z. Oh, right. Vertical merge at E to where? Here. All right, cut this out. Delete. It doesn't want to sort if I merge some stuff. Okay, fine. So let's see. Count. How many kids got F's? 9. That's too bad. F 9. Oh, ugh. F 9. Yes, that's 9. How many kids got D's? I can hover over their scores, click and drag. And if I get them all in there, it tells me 10. Cool. Probably not cool. I would like less D's and F's than this. All right. C's. 8. Okay, I'll remember that. Versus 15. And how many A's were there? 10. Okay. I would take it further from here, probably turn that into a graph. Maybe that's another day. Do you know who these names are? Does anybody know? They're real people. General Hospital. I'm hooked. Okay. Those are actually students' test scores. I just dropped some names over it. So, practice option number 2. Admin wants to know how many A's, B's, C's, D's, and F's. Okay, so that's real. We have that question asked. I will not count on the screen. I run a report and I slap it into an Excel file. And then I'll sort that A to Z. And this is how I tell admin how many A's, B's, C's, and D's, and F's I have. Okay. Item number 3, what's a real application? How many teachers are going to attend graduation and what are their names? So this is the spit out of a form where I ask, can you come help? And the last column is yes, I can be there, or no, I'm unable to help. And so what I do is I hover over that column, I hit the triangle, again, sort A to Z. Sometimes I sort Z to A, and if it's wrong, I just do it over again. It doesn't, I don't take time to think about it. It's just like they do in math class. Just flip it around, just do the opposite, which we know does not always work in math class. Okay, so unable to help, all those got first. Will be able to help. Okay, and now I know I can look over and easily see everybody from Lucy Co down. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, I'm just clicking on things right now. I can see everyone from Lucy Co down will be able to help with graduation. Maybe I copy that and I slap it in a Word document. Another real application. Oh yeah, this should look familiar. Mr. Spinelli adds a note next to his office hours, wrap the text to make it easier to read. So, here's Damian Spinelli. No, that's his daughter, Georgie. Okay. I'll just make it easy and go over here. I know there's a note here, but it's not all on one screen, and it just keeps going. So I can click on that cell. I can go up to the toolbar and do text wrapping. Okay, That's manageable. And so that's another real application. Last one, number 5. This is a spit out of a Google form. You've already entered the grades for Red 1, and you're ready to enter the grades for Red 3. So you need what I do, you don't have to do this. What I do is I hide the scores for Red 1 by clicking on a row and dragging down. Okay, I've got all the red ones highlighted. I'll right click to hide them. Right click, hide rows. They're still there, they're just hidden. And then I want their names alphabetical by last name, so this is even easier to put in the gradebook. I'll hover over column C till I get that arrow and sort A to Z. So now I can just go straight down and type those in the gradebook alphabetical order. So that's the last application thing. If you want this sheet, it's in the presentation. It's this right here, Clarissa Brown modified version for teachers. If you want some help, here are some things. Google Sheets is actually like Docs Sheets and PowerPoint Sheets and all of them, but pages 19 through 22 are specifically for Google Sheets. If you're ready for the advanced stuff, reasons not to hate Google is you can do all of this crazy stuff that you can maybe explore on your own time. This is the actual budget that I use. It's insane. Yes, period. I'll paste the link to this presentation in the chat again. And the cumulative recap is there also. I'll go ahead and stop recording.